There are certain things on certain platforms you can talk about
Mm.
because people love to say, "Oh, freedom of speech." BS. It's just there to be there because people get their channels taken down every day. People get their page taken away every day because they're
Yeah.
saying what's not with the status quo.
Yeah.
People like to say, "Oh, that's a lie." No, it's not.
Yeah.
You cannot say what you really want to say.
Yeah. No, I do think. No, I do think you have to do. You have to be wise with your words, and there is consequences for. I think you have choices, but I think people have to be aware of the choices that they make has consequences, whether good or bad.
For sure. Listen, that little spat we just had. Listen, there's some people that's gonna click off the video. Then there's some people that's gonna watch the full clip and get context.
Mm-hmm.
And there's some people that's gonna agree with me. Some people's gonna agree with you.
Mm-hmm.
Right, wrongs in between. Facts and not. People are gonna come up with their own solution, their own opinion and narrative from what was said in that previous conversation. And I have my ways of why I think about how I think, and you have yours.
Of course, yeah. All of our experiences, bro, and perceptions. That's all. It don't make us wrong or right. And that's the thing is about life and growth. Being able to disagree to agree respectfully. Like,
Yeah.
just because I don't agree with you don't mean I don't gotta like you. I still like you, still my bro. We just don't see it the same way, and that's okay.
Exactly.
Like, I feel like that's a hard thing for people to do nowadays.
Well, because people still think about it, right?
Mm-hmm.
People have been indoctrinated for years about that concept,
Mhm.
and they're attached to it. They're emotionally attached to that concept.
Mm-hmm.
So when somebody's going against it and it has a valid point or actual some facts to back it, they get scared and just want to have cognitive dissonance and be like, "Oh, nah, what you're saying is false. I don't believe you, or I don't want to believe you."
Mm-hmm.
And then they may look it up, or they may not even care to look it up. They just say you're wrong, just so they can have their belief in their mind still, so they don't have to feel uncomfortable to know that something they learned their whole life is actually false.
That's deep. I think one thing I got from what you're saying, that was important is a lot of people don't want their already preconceived notions to be false. And I think that is a problem for people who want to be stagnant and don't want to necessarily grow. Because in order to grow, you have to be able to take criticism and also other people's point of views into perception. That does not mean you have to agree, but that means you have to be able to listen and understand and hear what they're saying, and to be able to discern. Thank you for that, brother. Whether the information is true or not.
Yeah.
That's all you gotta do.
Well, a lot of people, even though we all got phones, a lot of people don't do research.
Yes. Yes.
So you'll have
it's half-ass research too.
Yeah, you'll have people say, "Oh, no, you're wrong," but they won't refute you with a factual point to look it up. That's why a lot of things I've learned about, especially going to that topic, I won't speak about in public because one, I've had video evidence and seen it, but at the same time, I don't have the research or the facts in my phone just to pull out for the conversation, so I can't just give you the points that I have. Like, oh, this is why, this is where. It'll have to take me some days or maybe weeks to gather that info. But even though a lot of times as well, I may not have all the information needed to refute my point the way I do as well. That's why there's things I just can't speak about.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's a certain historical knowledge I just don't have because, for one, most history taught in school was false or fabricated.
Mm-hmm.
And two, at the moment anyway, I'm going to in the future, but I just don't look up history facts like that. But I go to selected channels and peoples that seem like they have the information, but still I have to vet it.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't vetted it yet. So even though I have my opinions, I also have to really vet it so I make sure that information is correct.
Mm-hmm. And that's big. I'm sorry to cut you
I
off.
said, even though it feels and it seems like it's really correct. I still gotta vet that info to make sure it's right, because at the end of the day, they're just people saying things. I have to figure out if that's really true. So I really gotta look this up and apply it and cross-reference it with what's being said over here and over there. Because as a true journalist or a true communications person, I have to look at both sides of the equation to put together an adequate solution or preface that what I'm saying checks out. Even though it may check out what I'm hearing, I still got to vet it for myself, because just to get clarification.
Being able to look at both sides of the coins. Is that what you're saying?
It's not just that. It's just making sure the information that I feel is right, that is when going against what I've been taught, actually is correct and it checks out. But also make sure why the other side is wrong. Got to prove why the other side is wrong too.
So what does that process look like for you then? How do you know essentially if a source of information is correct on your beliefs? Because sometimes, our personal beliefs can sometimes cloud our judgment and knowledge of what is correct as well.
I put it this way: from when I'm going to be able to start doing this for real, just buckling down, I know it's going to take time, that I'm going to have to sit away from the information because of the overload, but also got to make sure the sources I'm looking at and checking into checks out.
Okay.
Because, like we said earlier, there's a lot of information out there. We got to make sure it checks out. We got to make sure it checks out, and we're going through the proper channels to vet it.
Yeah.
Because so much misinformation that it's so easy to get something wrong.
Yeah, absolutely right.
And it's very difficult sometimes to get something right, because you got to search through page 25 of Google, or you got to go through another website that's related to the Wikipedia page at the bottom. You got to go through the source of the source of the sources.
Yeah. Well, ain't nobody say it was gonna be easy, bro. That's for sure. If you want to be, it takes a lot to be knowledgeable and to know information. It takes hard work. Takes hard work, brother.
Because I was just having this conversation yesterday. When you start to gain knowledge of stuff that's quote unquote really going on, life does get a little depressing.
It does.
However, there are certain people that are and are not supposed to know this information as well.
Yeah.
People know and don't know things for a reason.
Yeah.
As some would say, some people are chosen to know the certain information that they do. So some people just don't need to know, because they're not going to be able to handle it when they do know. It's going to crush them. When I started learning some of this stuff, I was damn near depressed for a few days, but I kept looking into it. Some in me told me to not stop looking at and watching and listening to this information. So I just had to keep going. And it seemed to check out. Still got to vet it, but it seems to check out.
So do you think that blindness is beneficial then?
For people that don't need to see.